Hello everybody, it's Anthony Geisen here, and today I will be reviewing the TTArtisan's 11mm f2.8 lens for the Leica M-mount. This is by far the widest lens that I have ever shot with. 10-15 years ago I would have absolutely loved this when I was into street skating. Super wide, you can get real close. Let's first take a look at the design and build of this lens, and then at the end we'll take a look at the images. Since this is a fisheye lens, it's got a very large front element that protrudes quite a bit. It's easy to scratch and knock on stuff, and it's also difficult to get filters and hoods for. I gotta say, this lens feels really solid. It comes in at about 435 grams without any of the caps. The focusing ring has a really short throw and it feels smooth, but it also has a very nice precision to it. You can feel those precise movements between 0.9 feet and 0.7 feet. The aperture ring has a little nub here so that you can adjust it. The ring is just so small, if it didn't have that nub, you wouldn't be able to move it. This lens has an aperture range of f2.8 to 16. I found myself primarily using this f5.6 to f8 and just leaving it there when I'm out. This lens has the closest minimum focusing for any M-mount lens that I have currently used. It comes in at 0.17 meters, whereas most M-mount lenses have a 0.7 meter minimum focusing distance. Since 11mm is so wide, let's say if you're shooting at f5.6 or higher, pretty much everything that you're seeing in front of you is going to be in focus. I found that this lens is the absolute easiest M-mount lens to zone focus with. Basically, you set it at 5.6 or f8 and you adjust your aperture infinity at f8 there. From 1.5 feet to infinity, everything will be in focus at f8. That's just insane. Basically everything in front of you will be in focus. It's crazy. This lens is not rangefinder coupled. So what that means is on a Leica M body, which it's designed for, if you're looking through the viewfinder here and you just focus, that rangefinder patch, it's not gonna move. If you're using something like a Fuji or Sony body and you're adapting this lens, it's no big deal. You just focus and you do all your normal focus peaking or whatever, zoom in to get your focus. But on a Leica system, looking through this viewfinder is kind of useless for this lens because, one, 28mm is probably the widest frame lines you have, and 11mm is just way past that, and it's not rangefinder coupled. When you buy this lens, it does come with a little viewfinder here that you can attach to the hot shoe, and this just gives you the basic idea of what your framing would be for 11mm. So you look through here, whoa, that's really wide. I can basically see everything in my living room here, but it doesn't even have frame lines on it. So you're just looking through and you're kind of getting an estimate of, hey, everything I can see in front of me, it's going to be in the image. I can already do that without needing this viewfinder. So if you're using a film Leica M, like an M6 or something, you'd probably want to have the viewfinder on top just to get a little idea of what you're doing. But since I mostly used this lens on a digital M body, you have a couple ways to get around that. First being live view. You can activate live view and then you can see directly through the lens and see your whole frame. Another option on the digital Leica M camera to get your framing is to use a VisiFlex. I have one of the budget Olympus versions, and you just attach that on top here. And when you turn your camera on, you can use this kind of like a traditional mirrorless camera now. So you look through here and you get your whole frame. 90% of the time when I was using this lens, I had the VisiFlex attached. And it's so seldom that I actually use the VisiFlex, and I'm glad that this lens gave me a reason to bring it out. So while having the VisiFlex attached, my main way of using the VisiFlex wasn't actually to, get down there and look and compose my shot through there, because on an 11mm lens, basically everything in front of you is going to be in focus. So what I was doing was making it more like a TLR camera, where it's a waist level, and I look down here, and on my Leica M body, I can see the level meter, and once it hits completely level in the middle, that's when I would snap my picture. And I found this to be really useful when I was out doing street photography with this camera and lens, because I could just, you know, have this camera dangling around my neck on the strap, and I just look down and I can see in the VisiFlex, without even getting it close to my eye, I can see when I'm level on the gauge, and then I snap the picture. Everything in front of me is going to be in the shot. Everything's going to be in focus because I'm at f5.6 or f8. And the main thing I want to say about this lens is you just want stuff to be level, because since it's so fisheye and it can get so distorted, if it's not level, those lines and walls and buildings or people are going to get really distorted unless it's level. That pretty much covers like the build quality and how to use this lens on a Leica M body. Let's take a look at some of the pictures here. All right, so let's take a deeper look at some of the images that I've selected for this review. First up, Sarah and I did a little picnic, and I wanted to see that minimum focusing distance, how that would work. So I did a couple little shots of, you know, what we're eating and stuff like that. A couple days later, we visit the Kansas City River Market. This is around Halloween time, as you can tell by all the pumpkins and the spooky. And, you know, it's just, it's capturing everything that's in front of you. And I haven't used a lens like this ever, so it really did throw me for a bit of a loop. Like, you can even just see here that I'm somehow in this frame when I never would have thought I would have been. I really love the coloring and the rendition on this lens. As you can see, the sun's right up here, and I wanted to see how this lens would perform shooting towards the sun, and as you can see, there's some pretty obvious flaring across the image. So here's an image that I wanted to show you something really cool and fun that I thought of while using this lens. So I was out this day taking pictures, and let's go into develop here, and I thought this would be really fun. You basically just take the Hasselblad X-Pan crop factor and use that, right? Like, let's just see how that looks. That could be pretty cool. Maybe if I got more of the sidewalk out of here, or maybe if you took this into Photoshop and, you know, properly corrected the distortion, you could get a really cool looking image. Let's see, maybe if I go a little higher, yeah, to get this sidewalk out of there. You know, you can have a lot of fun with a lens like this. You can get a really cool panoramic looking scene, especially if you keep it level, like I was saying. It's all about keeping it level. And you maybe do a little bit of Photoshop distortion correction. Let's see what else. You know, same kind of thing here with the building. You know, you could do a nice long crop because it's just so distorted across the top. It makes it kind of hard to take a normal picture. And here's another one that, you know, might look kind of cool with X-Pan crop, and I've just kind of been toying around with this on a few of these. Yeah, that's not a bad, I kind of like that. Kind of fun. So this lens, it gives you options. Here's another one. If you just crop this nicely like an X-Pan, you could get a cool look. It's definitely great for getting everything in front of you and more in focus. There was quite a lot of images where you see my knuckles and stuff in the corner of the frame. This is one of my favorites that I took. There's just so much going on. There's so much in your face. Every inch of this frame is just packed with stuff. Here's another one that would probably do nicely with a Photoshop correction and the X-Pan cropping. Yeah, that would be, let's see. Could be something pretty good there. Here's another one that'd be not bad for a crop. You can see my boots and some of my jacket are in the shot. Unexpected. This is another one that would probably be not too bad with the X-pan crop. Yeah, ooh, that's nice. I like that. Ooh, that's good. I really liked using this lens. It really made me think differently. Again, this is just prime for that X-pan crop. It was a lot of fun, and it's good to challenge yourself. It's good to think differently when you go out taking pictures, because you know, you might get stuck in the habit of shooting 35mm or 28mm or 50mm, whatever it is you prefer. Try something really, really different. And see if there's an image or two that you can come back home with and be like, man, these are nice, I like this. Again, I'm loving these with just getting so much information in. I think I would prefer something maybe around 21mm to just have a little bit less distortion. This is awfully, awfully wide. As you can see, when you're trying to keep everything level, you can get a lot of dead space, you know, in different areas. I've taken quite a few images of this building, and you know, you're starting to get some of that distortion on the sides here, but it's still not bad. I was standing maybe about 3-4 feet from this actual fence, and you can just see how distorted that is. It just, fisheye all the way to the max. It's a prime example of what you're gonna get looking at something that's a straight line. It is rather sharp. Look at this, the detail on here is really good. I mean, it's not the sharpest lens ever, but darn, it looks good. You could definitely crop these like I have been with an X-pan style or any other kind of crop, and you still get really good usable results. I think I prefer this one of this building compared to the previous. We're gonna end it off here with images of Salmon and Marcy. These are our 2 new kittens that Sarah and I got. Here's some of that minimum focusing, getting real close, a little bit of my finger in there as well. But let's just zoom in here. You can see how sharp that is. It looks great. A little bit of, you know, chromatic aberration on the edges and side, but it's a fun lens. It's not a Leica perfect lens. It's not designed to be clinical. Here we get a little bit more of that flare. You can see the sun up in the top corner of the window, and you get a little bit of the red flaring in the opposite corner. And this was the same with that other outdoor one I was testing the flare in. You can see you just really get everything in the frame, and I'm not that far away from the kittens. Let's just see, you know, some of the detail we can resolve here. Even if you do a nice like 100% crop on an image, you know, you can kind of hide some of the distortion, and it's a pretty standard, great looking image. You could share that with any family member and they wouldn't know it's distorted or a fisheye lens. As you can see here, there's a little bit of noticeable chromatic aberration on the sides and on some other points here. This lens isn't going to win any awards for good optics. Its purpose is to have the wide angle fisheye look. You aren't going to be buying this lens to have razor sharp images or balanced contrast or really low chromatic aberration. So let's wrap up the TTArtisan's 11mm lens review. It is a very situational lens, but if you find yourself needing a lens this wide, or you want something really quirky for your Leica camera, this is one of the cool ones out there. It's very interesting and it's unique. You're not going to get the craziest, sharpest images, but it will be a blast to use, and you'll probably have some really fun images to show for. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to check out lower quality images that you've seen in this video, you can see them on my Instagram, and that is @Antnie. Thank you.